Good morning, everyone. The budget hearing of the Committee on Appropriations for the budget of the Department of Tourism will now come to order. Malakas, ano? Ang pagising sa lahat. Now, okay. Distinguished colleagues, honorable members of the committee, Secretary, the Honorable Secretary Maria Esperanza Cristina Garcia Frasco of the Department of Tourism, and our esteemed guest. First of all, I'm just sitting in for our chairman. I'm just a temporary. So our chairperson is Mika Swansing, and so she has just designated me, and I am honored to give this opening remarks. Today, the Committee on Appropriations will consider the proposed 3.72 billion budget for the Department of Tourism and its attached agencies and corporations for fiscal year 2026. This allocation is designed to fuel the sector's recovery, expand its global reach, and translate tourism gains into more jobs, stronger communities, and protected cultural heritage. Over the past year, the tourism sector has demonstrated remarkable resilience and progress. In 2024, the Philippines welcomed approximately 5.95 million international visitors, a 9.15 increase over 2023, while combined tourism receipts soared to a record 700 billion inbound visitor receipts and 3.86 trillion, repeat, trillion receipts, domestic receipts, exceeding the 2019 levels by nearly 103%. These figures underscore that recovery is not just occurring, it is achieving new highs. In the fiscal year 2026 budget message, the administration outlined a clear strategic direction, allocating 500 million for a national tourism branding campaign, 527 million for market and product development, 127 million for Philippine Experience Program, 81 million for film tourism, and 75 million to promote Philippine cuisine. These initiatives are designed to elevate our country's image, diversify our tourism offerings, and deepen visitor engagement. As we review this proposal, the committee expects to see measurable outcomes, including increased tourist arrivals, enhanced domestic tourism, job creation, and a higher economic contribution. With that, may I now introduce the vice chairs of this hearing, who will be the lead sponsor, is no less than Vice Chair Marie Bernadette Escudero. Takpak tayo. And the Vice Chairperson, together with our co-lead sponsor, is Vice Chairperson Chair Christopher Coco Iap. Lakpak na naman. So now, we therefore now call on our Committee Secretary, Leo, to acknowledge the resource persons and members of this committee and members of the House of Representatives. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May we acknowledge our guests from the DOT, Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco. Good morning, ma'am. Undersecretary Shalimar Hopper Tamano. Undersecretary Verna Esmeralda Buensoseco. Buensoques. Undersecretary Maria Rica Bueno. Undersecretary Ferdinand Humapao. Undersecretary Mayra Paz Valderosa Abubakar. OIC Undersecretary Milagros Say. Assistant Secretary Ronald Conopio. Assistant Secretary Jodeline Cuachon. Assistant Secretary Zarina Zara Loyola. Assistant Secretary Christine Joy Cari.
I don't see the raising of hands or acknowledgement. Can we repeat the last one? And let us have, we would like to see your beautiful faces and handsome faces. So what's the last one? I didn't see here.
Assistant Secretary Christine Joy
Yeah,
Cari.
please raise your hand. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Assistant Secretary Charlene Zabala Batin. OIC Assistant Secretary Attorney John Benedict Tigson. And from the Intramuros Administration, the Administrator, Attorney Joanne Padilla. From the National Parks Development Committee, Deputy Executive Director Jezreel Gayos Apilar. From the Philippine Commission on Sports Scuba Diving, Executive Director Marco Angelo Ancheta. From the Tourism Promotions Board, Chief Operating Officer Maria Margarita Montemayor Nograles. From the Tourism Infrastructure Enterprise Zone Authority, CIEZA, Dr. Mark L. Lapid, Chief Operating Officer. From the Duty Free Philippines Corporation, Chief Operating Officer Patrick Joel Cinco. From the Nayong Filipino Foundation, Executive Director Mary Grace Akak. And from the Philippine Retirement Authority, General Manager and CEO Roberto Sosobrado. May we also acknowledge the following members. Deputy Majority Leader Bong Tebes, and also Vice Chair of the Committee on Appropriations. Deputy Majority Leader Jan Baronda, also Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Appropriations. Deputy Minority Leader Percy Sardanya. Vice Chairperson Bernadette Escudero. Vice Chair Coco Yap. Vice Chair Rufus Rodriguez.
Present.
Vice Chair Monique Lagdameo. Vice Chair Lalo Matugas. Vice Chair Dale Corvera. Vice Chair Jerry Boy Espina. Vice Chair Roger Mercado. Vice Chair Brian Poe. And members, Representative Elijah San Fernando, Representative Rene Cu, Representative Eliandro Madrona, Representative Duke Frasco, Representative Catherine Goriseta, Representative Van Aumentado, Representative Nathaniel Aducado, Representative Sun Huday Shimura, and Representative Solomon Shungalao. And also we have Vice Chair Agustina Pancho and Representative Salvador Plato. And also may we acknowledge our guest from the CSO, the Philippine Association of Agriculturists Incorporated, Mr. Christian Hilario. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Comsec Leo. I now turn over the gavel to our presiding officer for this hearing, the Honorable Congresswoman Bernadette Escudero. Thank you.
Thank you, Kong Rufus. Tourism Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco, the hardworking family of the Department of Tourism, our Appropriations Chairperson, Honorable Mika Swansing, and my esteemed colleagues, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
It is both a privilege and an honor to preside over today's budget briefing of the Department of Tourism. Our task this morning is not only to listen and be enlightened on how the department has utilized its funds and achieved its accomplishments, but also to examine the same so we may ensure that every peso allocated truly redounds to the benefit of our people. Tourism is a cause very close to my heart. In Sorsogon, our local governments work tirelessly to welcome visitors and share the beauty of our province. We make use of digital platforms to showcase our destinations, and I have personally joined this effort by creating vlogs that highlight the places and stories that make our home truly special. I have seen firsthand how tourism can transform lives, how a simple homestay, a small food stall, or a guided tour can provide livelihood for families. Every beach we preserve, every cultural tradition we keep alive is not just about attracting visitors. It is about honoring who we are and ensuring that our people benefit from the blessings of our land. This, for me, is what makes Philippine tourism so meaningful. I look forward to a constructive discussion today. May our deliberations highlight both areas for improvement and opportunities for collaboration so that the Department of Tourism continues to be a catalyst for jobs, investment, and pride in our Filipino identity. Thank you very much. Without further ado, Madam Secretary, you may now proceed with your presentation.
The Honorable Chairperson on the Committee on Appropriations, Congresswoman Micaela Swansing, ably represented by Vice Chairperson Congressman Rufus Rodriguez. Our esteemed sponsors of the budget of the Department of Tourism, Congresswoman Det Escudero and Congressman Coco Yap, Vice Chairpersons of the Committee on Appropriations, members of the House of Representatives, members of the Department of Tourism family, my fellow Filipinos, mayong buntag kaninyong tanan. Tourism's vital role as an engine of our nation's growth story finds its grounding in the 1987 Philippine Constitution, which mandates the state to ensure the preservation and promotion of our culture and heritage, and thereby directs the government to invest resources in ensuring that the benefits of tourism are far-reaching and equitable. Having come from the front lines of local governance serving as mayor in Cebu, my background and my training has always been from work in the grassroots. Ultimately, this has guided the manner by which we have governed the industry. For we recognize that while tourism is lodged with massive expectations, the truth of the matter is that there are so very many components and investments that are required for the full potential of tourism to truly be unlocked. Recognizing the necessity of ensuring a developmental approach towards harnessing the potential of tourism for the Philippines, we have ensured that we use every peso that has been invested in tourism in as creative, as innovative, and as equitable a manner as we can. Our mandate is guided by the Tourism Act of 2009, which provides the role of the Department of Tourism to ensure the development of our destinations while protecting and promoting our culture and heritage, ensuring that we create employment and economic opportunities for our people. Our mandate is further enriched by the role of our attached agencies, ranging from the Tourism Promotions Board to the Tourism Infrastructure Enterprise Zone Authority to the Intramuros Administration, the PCSSD, as well as Duty Free Philippines, Nayong Pilipino, National Parks, and of course the Philippine Retirement Authority. All of these agencies play a specific role to service the intention of ensuring that tourism is felt in our communities and provides economic gains for national development. In 2024, Philippine tourism generated no less than 3.86 trillion pesos in internal tourism expenditure, accounting for 8.9% of our GDP. We emphasized this at the beginning of this budget deliberation, if only to ensure that the full picture of tourism's performance is appreciated. We deeply respect the House of Representatives' power of the purse, and we present our budget today with the sincere hope that the tourism industry will receive the funding that it needs in order for us to make sure that the plans set out in the National Tourism Development Plan, as well as the vastly competitive market that we face, can be one that we can address and surmount. The contributions of tourism to our economic performance in the country would indicate that we have now recovered at a rate of 103% from pre-pandemic numbers as far as visitor receipts are concerned. Domestic tourism arrivals remains our anchor of resilience. In 2024, Filipinos made no less than 134 million trips across the country, spending over 3.16 trillion powering our local destinations. This also exceeded our pre-pandemic record of 2019, both in trips and in expenditures. These figures underscore the enduring love of Filipinos for their own country and their vital role in sustaining our local destinations. Our robust domestic tourism market has also shielded the Philippines from external shocks and global uncertainties. The Philippines now leads Southeast Asia in terms of domestic tourism expenditure, accounting for over 1/3 of the region's total. In 2024, domestic tourism was valued at no less than $63.4 billion and is projected to reach no less than $70 billion in 2025. This achievement reflects the scale, diversity, and vibrancy of our tourism economy, underscoring the potential of domestic tourism as a foundation for global competitiveness. On the other hand, international arrivals have shown a remarkable upward trajectory over the past few years. We started at rock bottom, from just 163,000 plus arrivals in 2021. These numbers have surged by 1,519% in 2022, followed by another 105% increase in 2023, and a further increase of 9% in 2024, reaching nearly 6 million arrivals. This steady climb demonstrates the strong recovery of global confidence in the Philippines. It also confirms that our strategies to have a deeper and more engaging experience in the Philippines are bearing fruit, steadily positioning the country in the realm of tourism nations. These gains not only represent statistics, but most importantly, jobs, livelihood, a better life for our fellow Filipinos. Most importantly, tourism is fundamentally about people. And our sector employed no less than 6.75 million Filipinos directly, or about 13.8% of our total workforce in 2024. When we include indirect employment or the induced opportunities derived from tourism, tourism has reached and helped the lives of over 16.5 million Filipinos. Each of these jobs represents a family who can breathe a little easier, deriving income from this sector, which is in much need of investment. Our path forward has been guided by the National Tourism Development Plan approved by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. In crafting the National Tourism Development Plan, we made the effort to conduct a due diligence locally and globally in order to assess the needs of our tourism stakeholders, the lack in terms of infrastructure, accessibility, and connectivity, and the projected demand for the Philippines in time to come. Hence, our strategies are guided by the concepts of connectivity, convenience, and equality. And you can see from the slide that considering the findings of the World Economic Forum in 2021, that the Philippines ranks only at number 75 out of 117 economies in terms of tourism infrastructure. Infrastructure in tourism ranks number 1 in our priorities under the National Tourism Development Plan. To improve connectivity and convenience, we have established 12 tourist rest areas across the Philippines, which provide clean and decent restrooms for our travelers, as well as a pasalubong center to help our small and medium enterprises sell their local goods, a charging station providing convenient amenities for tourists, as well as PWD child-friendly facilities for travelers. The Tourist Rest Area program was born out of a survey conducted among tourists flying the country, which found that their number 1 concern was the lack of clean restrooms. So we did not waste any time and began to address this need. Building on the momentum of the very high demand for tourist rest areas across our local destinations and the very positive reception by our LGUs, we are now on the road to build 100 tourist rest areas across Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, strategically located to serve both high-volume destinations and as investments in potential and emerging destinations. This expansion will ensure that every region benefits from tourism infrastructure development. Connectivity, of course, is equally vital. And therefore, we have partnered with the Department of Public Works and Highways in advocating for more investment in tourism roads. Having been a mayor myself, I recognize the necessity of having roads leading to tourism destinations, without which we simply cannot expect tourists to go and discover the wonders of our destinations without such convenient infrastructure. With that, this has resulted in the construction, expansion, and rehabilitation of over 882 kilometers of tourism roads since the beginning of the Marcos administration. I must note, however, that for 2026, there is zero funding for new tourism roads under the budget of the DPWH, and while there is funding for continuing roads, this has significantly decreased. We are also introducing innovative transport solutions to elevate the quality of Philippine tourism to global standards. Hence, we have launched the Philippines' very first hop-on, hop-off bus tours in destinations across Metro Manila. These offer curated routes and easy mobility for our tourists while giving visitors more reasons to explore our capital. In today's digital age, travel must be smart and seamless, and that is why, working with the Tourism Promotions Board, we have enhanced the Travel Philippines mobile application, whereby the convenience of your fingertips, you can learn about all the regions of the Philippines, the experiences that you can have, and have access to vital information on the accredited tourism enterprises and stakeholders of the country. We understand that when tourists go around the country, they would wish to have a sense of safety, comfort, and security. That is why, for the very first time, our country now has a tourist assistance call center, a number that our tourists can call should they require any information or assistance. And we have now received over 18,000 calls to this professionally run call center, which also has professionally trained Mandarin and Korean speaking agents. Central to our efforts to elevate the quality of Philippine tourism is human capital development, which is why we have heavily invested in training our tourism workers to elevate their service to a global standard while remaining authentically Filipino. With that, from a baseline of only 16,000 tourism workers trained when we came in 2022, we have now managed to train over 330,000 tourism workers in the Filipino brand of service excellence. These ensure that every touch point of our visitors across our destinations is positive and positively Filipino. In addition to this, we have also ensured to promote culture and creativity, as is our mandate under the Constitution. We have completed 12 Philippine experience caravans across 32 provinces, 31 cities, and 51 municipalities, which provides opportunities for our tourism stakeholders, members of the diplomatic corps, as well as our partners in the tourism industry to get to know and to be introduced to the strengths of both well-known and emerging destinations, not just from the strength of their natural heritage, but importantly from their local identity, their traditions, their festivals, their foods, those elements that would make the experience to the destination unique, ensuring higher spending and repeat visits. The result of these experience caravans has been that our national tourism organizations have had business-to-business meetings with local stakeholders, creating local packages that are now being sold via the online travel platform Klook and are also being sold by our traditional travel agencies and tour operators. In addition to this, we have heavily invested in tourism infrastructure, making sure to crowdsource ideas from our local government units. Hence, the Tourism Champions Challenge was born, where we solicited proposals from LGUs across the country for sustainable, inclusive, and resilient tourism infrastructure. This resulted in the grant of around 255 million in investment from TIEZA, and these projects are now in various stages of construction and procurement, from as far north as Nueva Vizcaya to as far south as Isabela City in Basilan. To proceed, we recognize that halal and Muslim-friendly tourism is one of the fastest growing and highest valued segments of tourism in the world. Therefore, we have made strides towards ensuring the elevation of the Philippines as a halal and Muslim-friendly destination. With that, we have managed to increase our ranking from 12th to 8th according to the Global Muslim Tourism Index, which has recognized the Philippines as a rising Muslim-friendly destination. We have inked memoranda of agreement with various operators of tourism accommodations and resorts to convert their facilities to become Muslim-friendly, even as we have partnered with both the DTI as well as the private sector to increase the number of halal-friendly offerings in our nation. Food is part and parcel of our culture, and for far too long, Filipino food has been underrated around the world. That is changing. Under the National Tourism Development Plan, gastronomy tourism has been identified as a central pillar of our tourism strategy in order to provide opportunities for our regional destinations to put forth to the global consciousness the diversity and deliciousness of Filipino food. With that, we have mounted various programs to bring the global spotlight on Filipino food, such as the United Nations Tourism Gastronomy Forum, which was held in Cebu. The Terra Madre Asia Pacific will be held in Bacolod in November. And as I am sure you have already heard, the Michelin Guide, the world's most prestigious gastronomy tourism guide, has since announced its arrival in the Philippines. In addition to this, we have already rolled out our Philippine Gastronomy Tourism Roadmap, as well as our Palenque Tours to guide LGUs on how to harness the strengths of their community markets. Dive, of course, continues to be one of the country's strongest tourism products, with the Philippines ranking as the world's best dive destination for the 6th year in a row. And therefore, we have launched the Philippine Dive Experience. We have invested in hyperbaric chambers across our dive destinations to address diver safety. And we have also ensured the sustainability of these dive destinations through partnerships with the private sector and our presence in various dive expos around the world. The Philippines is steadily carving its place in the global map of sports and golf tourism. Through this, we have launched the Philippine Golf Experience, where we gathered international and local golfers to showcase our over 100 world-class and competitive courses around the country, as well as unique hospitality. We have threaded this not just with a leisure experience of golf, but also with cultural and gastronomic experiences as well. From golf, we have also supported various other sports tourism initiatives such as surf, basketball, volleyball, ensuring that sports creates legacies of inspiration, wellness, and community pride. The Philippine cinematic landscapes have long inspired global producers, and we are building on this strength by offering fiscal incentives and positioning the Philippines as a premier film tourism destination. We have engaged Hollywood to Bollywood by meeting with various producers as well as potential investors in film tourism in the country. The Philippines wishes to reclaim its position as a premier MICE destination, and that is why we have also made efforts together with the Tourism Promotions Board to host high-level global events to bring together business leaders, professionals, and innovators from around the world. The diversification of our tourism portfolio is producing measurable economic returns. In 2023, dive and marine sports generated over 182 million, education and volunteerism over 54 million, health and wellness nearly 500 million, and cruise tourism nearly 90 million. By 2024, these gains expanded further. These results prove that broadening our product base strengthens our resilience as well as opens new markets. Tourism today is driven by experiences rather than destinations alone, which is why we emphasize offerings like English as a second language, cruise, heritage, wellness, enriching our portfolio while broadening our global appeal. These experiences go beyond sightseeing. They're opportunities for meaningful connection with our destinations. Seeing the robust growth of domestic tourism, we have also invested heavily in the potential of our regional destinations, which is why, together with the regional offices, we have continued to mount tourism expos that bring together stakeholders both from the national, regional, and local front, such as the Central Philippines Tourism Expo, North Luzon Tour Expo, and the Mindanao Tourism Expo. The Department of Tourism has also made sure to engage our global counterparts in order to increase collaboration as well as yield tangible results. Most tangible of which is our recent partnership with India, which now has a reciprocal arrangement as far as visas are concerned, with the Philippines offering visa-free travel for Indian nationals coming to the Philippines and India offering free e-visas for Filipinos going to their nation. We're also eager to welcome the very first Delhi to Manila flights in October. In addition to this, we have also partnered with other markets such as Korea and Japan, facilitating new routes for connectivity from these destinations. And we have collaborated with Thailand to promote a two-country, one-destination arrangement, sharing best practices in tourism. Under the leadership of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., the Philippines is showcasing its rich heritage and culture at Expo 2025 in Osaka. Our pavilion has been crafted with pride and purpose and is the centerpiece of Filipino artistry and creativity. As Commissioner General, the Department of Tourism has worked with the Tourism Promotions Board in ensuring that we present our country's best foot forward. The Philippine Pavilion is now one of the most well-loved and most visited pavilions in Osaka, generating over 800,000 guests in just a few months of existence. Tourism is, of course, a shared responsibility, and the private sector has been our indispensable partner. We have been relentless in inking various collaborations with airlines, hotels, digital platforms, financial institutions in order to expand tourism opportunities. By combining public policy with private sector innovation, we amplify results for the tourism sector. One of the directives of the President was to ensure that the small and medium enterprises that depend on the tourism industry are given sufficient government support, which is why we recently launched the Turismo Ascenso Loan Program together with the Department of Trade and Industry and SB Corp, offering low-interest loans to small and medium enterprises of up to 20 million pesos. In fact, yesterday, the President led the distribution of loan proceeds to tourism MSMEs under this program. We also seek to provide opportunities for our returning overseas Filipinos who wish to be integrated in the Philippine economy in the tourism sphere, which is why we partnered with the Department of Migrant Workers for the Balik Bayani sa Turismo program, providing both capital as well as trainings and skills for overseas Filipinos who wish to have gainful livelihood in the tourism sector. One of the most important collaborations that we have had is with the Department of Social Welfare and Development, where we have sought to humanize the work of the Department of Tourism by putting the welfare of our tourism workers front and center of our priorities. With that, we have made the Bayanihan sa Bukas na May Pag-asa sa Turismo program, where at the advent of calamities and disasters, government is there to provide financial assistance as well as training and livelihood assistance to tourism workers displaced because of these calamities. Yesterday, the President also led the distribution of financial assistance and training grants to displaced tourism workers in Aurora Province. Our tour guides are the storytellers of our nation, which is why we have made sure to take care of them. We have provided tour guides with kits with essential tools in order to ensure that they're able to maximize their work, as well as personal accident insurance to protect them in times of accidents. To strengthen tourism education, the Department of Tourism has also advocated for the transparent and fully accountable use of the travel taxes that accrue to the Commission on Higher Education, which is why we have signed a joint administrative order and its implementing rules to ensure that the mandate of the Tourism Act, that travel taxes must be used for tourism-related programs, is followed. Our efforts to strengthen the Philippines brand extends to international placements and branded content, from securing features in global media platforms to collaborations with international airlines. These initiatives ensure that the Philippines remains top of mind among travelers. As an archipelago of over 7,600 islands, air connectivity is the backbone of Philippine tourism, linking us to the world and connecting our islands to one another. And therefore, while it is not our chief mandate, we have aggressively ensured routes development in partnership with the DOTR. With this, new routes have been introduced linking the Philippines to international destinations such as San Francisco, Seattle, Vancouver, Paris, and we resumed and expanded connections across Asia, including Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Singapore, and Thailand. Domestically, new and expanded services are opening more gateways across our island destinations. These new, expanded, and resumed routes make the Philippines more accessible and spread tourism benefits across our regions. In order to make travel to the Philippines easier, we have rolled out critical reforms together with our fellow government agencies. These include visa-free entry for Indian nationals, visa-free entry for Taiwanese nationals, visa waivers for cruise passengers, and the introduction of a digital nomad visa for remote workers. Madam Chairperson, with your permission, we now shift the discussion to the fiscal matters under the budget of the Department of Tourism, and I yield the floor to OIC Undersecretary for Administration and Finance, Mila Sai, who will provide the corresponding programmatic breakdowns.
You have the floor, Undersecretary Sai.
With the permission of the chair, I am pleased to present the proposed budget for the Department of Tourism for fiscal year 2026. So, in pursuit of the department's vision of transforming the Philippines as a tourism powerhouse in Asia, the proposed new appropriation of the DOT and its attached agencies for the next year is at 3.718 billion, where the lion's share of 3.19 billion or 86% is allocated to the DOT OSEC. IA will have an allocation of 159 million for a share of 4%, NPDC with a share of 9% and PCSSD with 1% will have 320 million and 44.9 million respectively. Next slide, please. Lashed before you are the breakdown of the proposed budget by agency and allotment class, where notably, maintenance and other operating expenses constitutes 69% of the appropriation, followed by personal services at 23%. Capital outlay, on the other hand, is at 7% or about 247.6 million. This is due to the DOT OSEC's information strategic system strategic plan for next year, the vehicle requirements and other capital outlay requirements for fiscal year 2026. The net for 2026 indicates a total decrease of negative 4.6% in budget appropriation as compared to our 2025 GAA. Next slide, please. The total proposed appropriation based on the NEP for DOT OSEC is at 3.193 billion, where the Market and Product Development Program will get the bulk of its budget, followed by the General Administration and Support. Moving on to our fiscal and financial performance for 2024, the DOT received 3.07 billion, of which 2.67 billion was obligated, translating to an 87% utilization rate. More importantly, these resources delivered concrete results across our major programs. Under tourism policy formulation and planning, targets were exceeded due to the increased development of national and local tourism plans and the higher demand for technical assistance, which were requested from both LGUs and non-LGUs. This included requests for site assessments, statistics training, and support in crafting local tourism development plans. For the tourism industry training program, the overachievement was largely driven by the implementation of the Filipino brand of service excellence, which required extensive nationwide training. Some programs were also co-organized with industry stakeholders, further expanding the number of training activities conducted and participants reached. For standards development and enforcement, the increase in accredited enterprises was attributed to the intensive campaigns targeted toward accreditable establishments and tourism frontliners. High levels of compliance were also observed among accredited establishments, resulting in strong performance against targets. Finally, in market and product development, overperformance was driven by the conduct of more product development initiatives, trade development activities, and consumer activations than originally targeted. These efforts resulted in higher than expected accomplishments and expanded the DOT's reach in both local and international markets. For the next slide, as of June 30, 2025, the DOT OSEC obligated 1.32 billion out of its 2.48 billion allotment, or 53% BUR, which is the highest mid-year utilization in DOT's history, with an overall disbursement rate of 62%. The performance varies across major programs, reflecting the design and timing of activities. For the Program of Tourism Policy Formulation and Planning, the obligation rates stood at 29%, primarily due to the ongoing procurement of ICT investments under our ISSP, such as the Document Management System and Learning Management System, which are scheduled for completion within the year. The Tourism Industry Training Program posted a 48% obligation and a strong 77% disbursement rate, showing quick fund turnover in support of capacity building activities nationwide. The Standards Development and Enforcement Program likewise performed efficiently with a 59% obligation rate and an 82% disbursement rate, underscoring steady flows for accreditation and monitoring functions. The Market and Product Development Program, which carries the largest share of the budget, registered a 58% obligation and a 49% disbursement. This reflects the phased rollout of major promotional campaigns synchronized with domestic and international market schedules, with higher disbursements expected in the second half of the year. And finally, the locally funded projects recorded the highest obligation rate at 89%, with disbursements to follow as project milestones are completed. Overall, these figures indicated the natural pacing of procurement-intensive and market-driven activities. The department has adopted measures such as early procurement planning and tighter coordination with partners to ensure that by year-end, obligations and disbursements accelerate in line with the scheduled project completions. The next slide shows that the department's budget over the 5 years show how our resources have been adjusted along broader fiscal conditions. From 2.19 billion in 2020, allocations went down in 2021 and 2022, primarily due to the pandemic, reaching a low of 1.59 billion. By 2023, the budget slightly improved to 2.43 billion, largely because of the 1.27 billion branding allocation that allowed us to relaunch the Philippines in international markets after borders reopened. However, in 2024, appropriations dropped again to 1.98 billion, or 19% lower than the previous year, with branding support reduced to only 200 million. This limited the momentum of our international promotions, even as the department maximized every peso provided. At the program level, market and product development still carried the biggest share, though at much reduced levels by 2024. Meanwhile, the policy and planning program rose to 787 million, reflecting support for ICT requirement of the DOT, while training and standards remain modest but fully utilized to sustain capacity building and accreditation. Despite these challenges, the department has shown high absorptive capacity, ensuring that limited budgets are consistently translated into tangible accomplishments for the tourism sector. The next slide will show the DOT OSEC comparative obligation rate from fiscal year 2020 up to 2024. The obligation rates across programs is generally high from 2020 to 2024. In fact, by 2023 and 2024, most programs posted near perfect obligation rates, 99% in tourism industry training, 100% in standards development and enforcement, and 98% in market and product development. Locally funded projects also reached 100% in 2024, ensuring that resources provided were fully committed to priority initiatives. For the next slide, recognizing that effective budget utilization is crucial for ensuring efficient use of financial resources, the DOT have continued to work hard towards fully utilizing our budgets in order to achieve the objectives of our programs, activities, and projects. For DOT OSEC in particular, as of August 27, 2025, utilization has already reached 60%. This reflects the department's stronger absorptive capacity and sustained reforms in procurement and financial management. Building on our recent full-year performance in 2023 and 2024, we are confident that utilization for 2025 will remain on track to close strongly by year-end. With respect to the budget of the three attached agencies under GAA, the attached agencies are prepared to present the details should the members of this honorable committee require the same. So, moving forward, for the next slide, over the past several years of our DOT branding campaign budget, it has fluctuated significantly. From 2018 to 2019, the program maintained a stable allocation of 1 billion annually, providing strong support for tourism promotion initiatives and activations. However, beginning in 2020, the budget experienced substantial reductions, with appropriations decreasing to 803 million in 2020, 468 million in 2021, and further down to 309 million in 2022. In 2023, the campaign received renewed recognition with a sharp increase in allocation to 1.2 billion, of which the department achieved a 92% budget utilization rate. Underscoring the importance of revitalizing the Philippine tourism brand in the post-pandemic period. This momentum, however, was not sustained as the budget fell to 200 million in 2024. By 2025, the appropriation was further reduced to only 100 million, the lowest level in recent years. So the trend in the branding campaign budget from 2023 to 2025 illustrates a sharp and sustained decline in resource allocation. In fiscal year 2023, the program was supported with a robust appropriation of 1.271 billion, reflecting strong government commitment to reinvigorating the Philippine tourism brand following the pandemic. However, in fiscal year 2024, because of the drastic drop to only 200 million, which represented an 84% decrease, and the downward trajectory which continued into FY 2025 when the budget was further reduced by half to just 100 million, the significant contraction in funding over a 3-year period highlights the growing resource constraints facing tourism efforts. The steep decline not only limits the department's capacity to mount large-scale and sustained branding initiatives, but also poses challenges in competing with neighboring destinations that continue to heavily invest in their tourism marketing campaigns. The trend underscores the importance of ensuring consistent and adequate support for branding if the Philippines is to strengthen its visibility and competitiveness in the global market. So, for the next slide, the Philippines tourism budget for 2024, comparing it to our ASEAN neighbors, stood at US dollars 52.10 million, or about 2.99 billion pesos, significantly lower compared to its ASEAN neighbors. Singapore allocated the highest at US dollars 431.42 million, or about 24.75 billion, followed by Malaysia at US dollars 262.87 million, or 15.08 billion pesos. Indonesia at US dollars 234.36 million, and Thailand at US dollars 167.90 million. Likewise, Vietnam has a budget of US dollars 147.92 million, or about 8.48 billion. These figures show that our neighbors are investing 3 to 8 times more than the Philippines in tourism. This comparison underscores the disparity in resource allocation across ASEAN countries, highlighting the challenges faced by the Philippines in competing with regional destinations that consistently invest larger budgets in tourism promotion, product development, and global marketing. Despite these limitations, the DOT continues to deliver impactful programs and initiatives, maximizing available funds to sustain the country's visibility in the global market. With stronger support, the Philippines can unlock even greater global competitiveness. And with the kind indulgence of the good chairperson, permission to yield the floor back to the Secretary.
Madam Secretary, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The story of the Philippine tourism industry has been one of resilience amidst struggle, resourcefulness amidst fiscal limitations, and the resolve to remain a source of hope for millions of Filipinos. And yet, tourism gives excellent value for money if you come to think of it. In 2024, every peso invested in the sector generated 5.50 pesos in returns in visitor spending. When benefits are compared with costs, the benefit-cost ratio comes out at 5.5. This means that for every peso invested in tourism, the economy generated, representing returns through visitor spending and related activities. These figures confirm that tourism is not just a recovery story, but a high-yield economic driver, with strong multiplier effects that justify continued and expanded investments in infrastructure, promotion, and human capital development. Tourism has ceased to just be about leisure. Tourism is about livelihood. Tourism is about nation building. And with the support of the House of Representatives, we can ensure that Philippine tourism not only welcomes the world to our shores, but ensures that we are head and shoulders competing with our neighbors with the right resources, delivering lasting opportunity and hope for the Filipino people. Daghang salamat kaninyong tanan. We are prepared to answer any questions that this committee may have, and our attached agencies are also prepared with their own presentations.
Thank you very much, Secretary Frasco. The committee now invites questions from the members, particularly on the utilization of the previous budget and the proposed allocation for fiscal year 2026. As part of the House's commitment to generate transparency in the budget process and in line with the current leadership's initiatives in the Committee on Appropriations to foster a more participatory budget process, we shall read the questions submitted by the civil society organization, the CSOs, after all members have propounded their questions to the agency. Secretary Cristina Frasco and her team are requested to provide the necessary clarifications and to respond directly to the issues at hand to ensure that this committee and the public following this proceeding are fully informed of the anticipated impact of the proposed budget of the DOT and its attached agencies and corporations. May I also remind our distinguished colleagues that each member is allotted 5 minutes for questioning or interpellation, excluding the responses of the resource persons. When you hear the first bell, it indicates that you have 30 seconds left to conclude your questions. The second bell signifies the lapse of your allotted time. And in accordance with the long-standing and respected tradition of the House of Representatives to accord preferential treatment to the minority members, followed by the independent and majority members in an alternating manner, the chair now recognizes from the minority, Honorable Representative Rene Co. You're recognized, Madam.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to the Department of Tourism that's here today. We appreciate the presentation that you gave, and of course, it's noted doon yung 2023 budget for branding, no? This is previously na-news na rin po na kung saan there's a 1.27 billion budget for the branding campaign program, of which 1.257 billion went to advertisements. Nakita naman po dito sa slides kanina, the drastic difference between the 2023 branding budget as compared to the 2024 and then the 2025 now. Can I ask po, can we have a breakdown of the budget that was used in 2023? How much po went to the ad agency?
Madam Chair, our OIC set for admin and finance is just getting the specifics in order to provide you with a detailed answer. Can you tell them the breakdown?
With the permission of the chair. For 2023, for the branding budget, we have allotted for local media planning and buying and placements around 150 million. For international media planning, buying and placements, international PR, and international marketing was allotted 520. And then the international media campaign activation, for country brand development local, it's 114. And for the rest is accounted for by support to operations and other PAPs like the tourism website, the DOT hotline, and the branding of tourism products. Madam Chair.
Thank you. So, but yung question po is, may napunta po ba sa ad agency? In previous budget allocations po kasi, ang naka-note po doon is 1.257 billion went to advertisement. So, are you saying po that this budget breakdown on local international planning, all this went to the ad agency?
Madam Chair, with the permission of the chair, may we provide you with a copy of the breakdown for the ad agencies?
Okay, thank you. We would appreciate a copy of the breakdown of the budget because we also note that in that same year, dun po lumabas yung use of stock footage or stock footage sa isang video po, which the DOT Sec said that after that came out, you terminated the contract with DDB Philippines and confirmed that though you're retaining the use of the slogan "Love the Philippines," but you did not provide funds because of the use of that video. Can we confirm if this is true po?
We confirm, Madam Chair, that not a single peso of government funds was paid to the agency whose services were promptly terminated by the Department of Tourism.
So it goes to show that if the breakdown here provided is correct, there's around 700 million that was used for that 1 billion budget. Last year, nag-request po kayo ng 500 and this year you're using 100. Is there remaining funds for branding that's currently with the Department of Tourism? Ano pong plano doon sa the rest of the budget?
Madam Chair, in order that we are not hypothesizing on the utilization, we are prepared to provide you with the actual breakdown of the actual utilization of the 1.2 billion. I've directed my USEC for Admin and Finance to provide that to you forthwith. And as far as the funding of the Department of Tourism of 200 million for 2024, that has been utilized already, and the 100 million that has been devoted for branding for 2025 is now also nearly fully utilized.
Okay. Thank you. We would be waiting for that report po, Madam Chair. My next question po is in relation to a concern that is being floated by some of the youth that are residing in what we call tourism centers here in the Philippines, specifically Siargao. So we have an account from Maria Tokong who said that she's losing the sense of security in her community and in Siargao due to the growing presence of Israelis. This is the same po, the account of Sophia Nicole, another youth, who said that Israeli tourists harassed a group of trans women. No? Siargao is supposed to feel like home for these locals, but they are increasingly being driven out of these spaces because of environmental damage, the unruly behavior of tourists, etc. We note, of course, the case of Bali, Indonesia, where tourism gentrification increasingly pushed the cost of living higher and pushes away these locals. So my question po, given the policy that is being driven here, which is to showcase culture and promote tourism in local communities, how can we ensure that our tourism policies don't push away po yung mga locals away from their communities and ensure that their conditions remain livable in their areas po?
Madam Chair, tourism being essentially a people-to-people activity should in no way lead to any cultural clashes among various nationalities. And therefore, it is the position of the Department of Tourism that the activities conducted amongst our islands must always give primacy and respect to the local culture and traditions of our peoples. With that, and having been in receipt of reports similar to the ones that you highlighted, we promptly directed our regional director, who is present here today and can provide further information, to coordinate with the local government unit as well as to liaise with the local communities in order to provide assistance as far as cultural sensitivities are concerned. In addition to this, in the farewell call that was done by the former ambassador of Israel to the Philippines, Ilan Fluss, I also personally raised these concerns with him, and he received it positively in a sense that he committed that his embassy will carry out the necessary measures to discuss the same with the individuals of Israeli nationalities involved.
Madam Chair, is there a commitment that can be made by the Department of Tourism that should similar incidents arise, no? Bilang ayaw nga natin yung cultural clashes, that your agency will be on top of addressing paano ma-ensure that these communities will not be pushed away from the communities that they're locals of.
We are committed to fully comply with our mandate to protect the culture and heritage of our country, and that includes unequivocal respect for our communities. Our Tourist Assistance Call Center 151 Tour is also ready to receive any complaints that locals may have against offending visitors.
Madam Chair, my next line of questioning naman po would be also how certain policies would affect local tourism naman. In this case po, these complaints come from San Juan, in La Union, where they report that Prime Water's bad service affects local tourism because yung pagkakaroon ng pagtigil ng tubig, etc., as according to the former president of San Juan Resort Restaurant Hotel Association, makes it difficult for them to maintain yung kanilang operations. They have to pay 40,000 pesos per month just to look for water alternatives, just to pay for water even though hindi naman sila nakakuha, which affects the mandate
Can you
of your...
please wrap up?
Thank you very much, yes po. So the last question would be, how do we ensure po the quality water for communities catering to tourists? What would be your response po, given that these kinds of policies are affecting tourism?
The provision of clean water to our tourists is, of course, a basic human right. And therefore, the Department of Tourism is of the position that this must be readily available across our destinations. It is not our chief mandate to ensure the provision of clean water, and we have worked very closely with the DENR in order to ensure that our work with the local government units that have primary jurisdiction over these tourist destinations is one that would yield a safe and ideal destination as far as the availability of water is concerned. On the other hand, the Department of Tourism's attached agency, the Tourism Infrastructure Enterprise Zone Authority, does provide infrastructure assistance to island destinations in need of intervention such as wastewater treatment, septage treatment, and the provision of quality water. So we would be happy to receive any request from the local government unit to address this situation, even as we recognize that this is a private entity that is running the water system in that particular LGU. So I would yield the more specific answer to that question to the holder of the water concessionaire, Madam Chair.
If I make a short follow-up, Madam Chair, may we ask if the Department of Tourism would be open to a dialogue with these affected stakeholders which provide important tourist services, but are finding it difficult to find ways by which paano nila ma-deliver tong services na to kung wala naman po silang maibigay na tubig.
Yes, absolutely, Madam Chair. Our regional office has been coordinating with the local stakeholders to receive these concerns and, of course, to do as much as we can in order to provide assistance where it's needed.
That would be all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Representative Reneco. I now recognize from the majority, Deputy Majority Leader Bong Teves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Department of Tourism Family, headed by Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco, officials, especially my good friend, Undersecretary Kokoy Jumapaw,
Okay.
attached agencies, good morning to all of us. Madam Chair, I would like to manifest my full support to the proposed budget of the Department of Tourism. I would like to congratulate the DOT family. Ang Pilipinas po ay ang biggest domestic tourism market in Southeast Asia with a forecast of $70.8 billion for 2025. But I would like to appeal, Madam Chair, na kung pwede taasan po naman ninyo ang allocation budget for Bicol Region. Ayos. Kasama ko po rito ngayon si Deputy Majority Leader Vice Chairman Dirit Escudero na napakababa po ang budget ng Bicol. 38.1 million. Kailangan po natin itong dagdagan kung kinakailangan. Ang Bicol Region po ay isa rin sa potential dahil alam naman po nating madaming mga turista ang pupunta rito. Isa pa po, Madam Chair, gusto ko lang pong pasalamatan ang CESA Chief Operating Officer, my boss Mark Lapid, for providing a tourist rest area sa aming bayan sa Baras Catanduanes. Sana madagdagan din po ito ng boardwalk dahil alam po ninyo, ang Baras Catanduanes po ay kilala bilang isang surfing destination o tourism capital sa province of Catanduanes. Lastly, I would like to reiterate my full support to the proposed budget of Department of Tourism and if possible, tasan po natin ito. And I also encourage my fellow congressman to support this same. Maraming salamat sa inyo lahat.
Galing talaga, Bong. Galing.
Thank you very much, Representative Bong Teves, for your manifestation. The chair now recognize from the minority, Representative Deputy Minority Leader Percy Sandanya.
Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair. Marami pong salamat sa presentation ng Department of Tourism Family. Magandang umaga po sa atin. For my first set of questions, Madam Chair, I'd like to focus on issues surrounding international arrivals. Earlier in the presentation, highlight po natin yung domestic market, pero alam naman po natin na kadalasan ang lion's share dapat talaga ng income natin sa tourism should also come from international arrivals. In 2024 po, the DOT promised that 7.7 million international arrivals, no? And then the actual number was 5.95 million, a shortfall of 1.8 million or almost 25% below target. And I'd like to juxtapose this with pre-pandemic arrivals in 2019, which reached almost 8.3 million. 5 years na po since noong pandemya, pero we are still far behind. So the question is, isn't this a clear proof that the DOT strategies have failed to bring in the tourism back to pre-pandemic levels? And perhaps this will be also a good reference for the members of this committee for the DOT to be more candid about what were the mistakes in the planning and execution which caused this gap of nearly 2 million tourists target as opposed to actual arrivals?
Thank you for the question. Madam Chair, I will answer that question in three ways. First is by addressing the main reason why the Philippines was unable to meet its 7.7 million target, which was projected based on the liberalization of visas specifically for the market of China. At the beginning of the administration, the Department of Tourism had proposed that visas be liberalized for the Chinese market, considering that nearly the rest of our neighbors had already lifted visa requirements for Chinese nationals. Therefore, the electronic visa program was launched by the Department of Foreign Affairs, and it had projected that they would be able to issue 2 million visas within the span of 1 year at around 8,000 visas per day. That 2 million number was not reached because the e-visa program was promptly suspended and regular visa applications was also meted with stricter and more stringent documentary requirements. Had we been able to continue the e-visa program, then we would have been able to bring in the 2 million. And if you add 5.9 plus 2 million, that is in excess of the projected 7.7 million in arrivals. Secondly, the question as far as international arrivals comparison is concerned must also be tempered with reality. The reality being that the Philippines is an archipelagic nation whose dependency on international arrivals is solely pegged on air travel, at a 99% dependency on international flights coming into the country. In stark contrast to that is the fact that our direct competitors in the ASEAN enjoy international land borders, such as Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, and the like. As a matter of fact, an analysis of the share of ASEAN visitors relative to total arrivals shows significant contrasts among Southeast Asian countries. For Thailand, while they show the strongest arrivals across the ASEAN, it's indicated that their international land-based arrivals constitute around 25% of its visitors. For Malaysia, their dependency on international land border travel, as far as international tourists concerned, is around 43.4%. For Cambodia, their dependency on international land border travel for international tourists is around 63%. In stark contrast to the Philippines' arrivals, where only 8.1% come from ASEAN nations. This goes to show that the markets that are being penetrated and attracted by the Philippines are definitely not within the ASEAN region, and therefore we do not enjoy the same geographic advantages of our direct competitors who have the convenience of receiving international tourists not by riding an international flight, but by simply crossing a land border. Third, in order to fully rationalize the performance of Philippine tourism on international arrivals, we must also provide an analysis of the investments made in the industry for it to be truly globally competitive. A comparison of the budgets of our counterpart departments of tourism amongst our direct neighbors would show that the Philippines' ranking in the ASEAN almost equates our ranking in terms of budgets. Simply put, the lesser you invest in tourism, the lesser international arrivals you will have. And finally, we wish to emphasize and we plead for this House's understanding that while we have devoted blood, sweat, and tears to the success of this industry, we simply cannot perform as well as we would like if we are given such meager resources as we have. That being said, notwithstanding the lower international arrivals of the country, our performance as far as GDP contribution with our ASEAN neighbors would show that the GDP contribution of the Philippines in tourism is the highest in Southeast Asia. Tourism spending per capita among our Southeast Asian neighbors places the Philippines first at no less than $2,073. And tourism employment for the country, which is also an important measure of tourism performance, has already exceeded pre-pandemic numbers.
Daghang salamat, Madam Secretary, Madam Chair. Speaking of resources and investment, let me now shift to issues on how the department is utilizing its budget. Looking at the 2024 figures, only 314 million or 10.5% of the DOT's budget went to capital outlay, while 1.95 billion or 65.3% went to MOOE. In 2025, the imbalance worsened, 235 million for capital outlay, while MOOE climbed to 1.79 billion, which is around 69.5%. This represents a 52.9% cut in capital investments in just 1 year. The question, Madam Chair, is why is the DOT prioritizing its own operation instead of building infrastructure and tourism facilities? And related to that, isn't this proof that the DOT budget now sustains bureaucracy rather than create lasting tourism assets? As mentioned before, the importance of investment. So how can the department justify its current proposal when tangible investments in destinations keep shrinking year after year?
We wish to clarify, Madam Chair, that the Department of Tourism's budget allocation is not for tourism infrastructure, as that is the mandate of the Tourism Infrastructure Enterprise Zone Authority. And therefore, we have partnered with TIEZA in order that we may be able to invest in our destinations, as can be clearly gleaned from the tourist stress areas, the Tourism Champions Challenge, as well as the various tourism infrastructure that have arisen since the onset of the Marcos administration. That being said, the capital outlay that has been allowed by the Department of Budget and Management under the auspices of the DOT's budget is limited to investments in its ISSP and nothing else. This ceiling constrains us to work within the confines of what has been provided to us and the purpose for which these funds have been allocated. USEC SAI will be able to provide further detail as far as the specifics on the MOOE utilization.
With the permission of the chair, aside from the capital outlay, we were only provided for the ISSP 156.78 million. So in 2024, we were provided budget for infra for the boardwalk and Rizal Park for Region 8. That's the only capital outlay.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just a follow-up on my previous query on how do we proceed with the carried and approved motion on food disclosure. May I suggest, not really a motion, but I would submit, if